good evening. Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Code Red here on Enravio.com. It's a Tuesday evening. A little blustery and cold today here in New York.
This game's already rained out.
Game's already rained out. Yankees, I guess. Good morning. Good afternoon there,
Good
General.
afternoon. Good evening.
How are you?
Very good.
Good, good. Yankees return to Cano tonight to the Bronx. Are they playing that game?
I don't know.
Big threat of rain, so I'm not sure what's going on with that game. We also know already that Ellsbury is not in the lineup tonight, so if you have him in your lineup, run and make a change.
Big threat of some booing, too, possibly.
Listen, I have no idea what's going to happen out there tonight.
I think it'll be a mixed bag.
Lay low, Robbie.
Yeah, no, don't hit any home runs.
It's been known to rain batteries in the Bronx. All right, so let's get into our week in review here, Fantasy Baseball Week in Review. Last week's big stories, one of the biggest stories, Michael Pineda suspended 10 games for stupidly using pine tar, not one time, but a second time. The first time he had it on the palm of his hand, quite conspicuously. And instead of trying to maybe be a little bit more subtle about it, he comes out in his next start against the Red Sox and has a big glob of it on his neck, for God's sakes, and gets called on it. 10-game suspension, and here we go.
Listen, you want to know something? I respect a guy that comes out and is right out in the open and says, look,
if you ain't
I'm cheating, you're not trying. I mean, it's not like A-Rod walked out there with the syringe sticking out of his shoulders, giving you a chance to see that he was doing something. At least this guy's like, you know what, I'm cheating. And it's right out there. And no shadows, no back room, no back alley rendezvous. Here it is. Catch me if you can.
It's almost like back in the day with McGuire when he had the Andor right down his, out for all to see in his locker. But
cork bats, pine tar, Vaseline on the door of the cap, all that stuff I'm okay with because it's all happening right in front of you. It's the other stuff I don't really like so much.
I don't know. You know what? I mean, I've had an issue with this since way back in 1988 when I was at and you were with me, I believe, when we were at a Mets-Dodgers playoff game, and Jay Howell got the
heave-ho. Yes,
he got the heave-ho during that game for a pine tar incident. Listen, we all know it's used to a degree. I mean, you look at Craig Kimbrell. You ever see his hat? You ever see the bill of his cap?
Sure.
I mean, I'll tell you what, this guy is just, he's got a big black blotch on the bill of his cap. And, I guess, it's an accepted kind of look the other way thing with pine tar and pitchers.
I think it is. I think Buchholz has the same scenario.
A lot of guys do. Yeah. A lot of guys do. But you know what? Let's at least try to be a little discreet.
What, that big blob on his neck was too conspicuous, I guess.
A little bit.
I think that's what made the Red Sox the most mad. They were like, come on, you did it last week and we saw. Now you're actually sticking it in our face, and you're going to have it on your neck, no pun intended.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what brought that to a head. So, no big deal. He'll sit out a game or two, and that'll be the end of that. So.
And then we have Alfredo Simon this week. Not actually this week, but he wound up, he's being sued right now in a civil lawsuit for $15 million in damages. There's a woman that claimed that he assaulted her at a hotel when the Reds were in Washington for a series against the Nationals back in April of 2013. Apparently they met at the Huxley nightclub. Where apparently he was with Johnny Cueto.
Oh, jeez, Johnny.
And the two of them apparently brought some women back to their hotel room, and it's alleged that the woman that was with Simon was not sober enough to make a consensual decision regarding sex, and Simon apparently molested her anally. Am I allowed to say anally?
Oh my God! Are you serious?
But
I let you bring the story
up. Listen, not that this is a joking matter, folks. It's not a joking matter, but apparently.
Listen, he's going to lose the lawsuit. Number one.
Apparently, there's something to this. I mean, the woman went to the hospital the next day.
Why isn't there a legal situation here?
Well, I'm surprised at that. Because apparently she did report it originally. Went to the hospital the very day of the incident, And they did an examination and found that there was bruising and things to that effect. So,
I mean, this guy should have been arrested and it should have gone the normal route, but it ends up in this route.
Well, you know what? You wonder if maybe she doesn't care about a criminal
he's gonna
case.
lose,
maybe she cares about a civil lawsuit and cashing in on this. But anyway, Alfredo.
Nice knowing you.
Nice knowing you,
We'll
bro.
see you next time. He's done.
And then we have my man crush out until July. Mr. Bryce Harper out until July, thumb surgery, headfirst slide into third base.
I mean, this is like stupidity times 10. I don't understand this at all. I don't know who's teaching these guys how to slide. I don't know who came up. First, let me make this statement. Headfirst sliding does not equate to this guy hustles. All right. I mean, yeah, Pete Rose did it.
I was going to say, unless you're Charlie Hustle
and Ricky Henderson never broke a finger, and he slid head first probably 1,000 times in his career. But this is ridiculous, really, at this point. Josh Hamilton now. This is the second time with him with the sliding and breaking the finger. Last time, actually, he dislocated the shoulder.
Yeah.
That was at home plate of all places. And this time around, it was sliding, and he hurts the thumb or whatever. Now, Harper, he's out for 2 months. I mean, the other guy, Hamilton's out for 2 months. Puig was lucky he didn't get hurt worse than he did when he did it back a few weeks ago. Zimmerman had an issue with that, going back into second base. That's a little bit different. If you're going back into second base head first, I kind of get that.
Yeah, or even first base for that matter.
Yeah, that I kind of get. That maybe I think he was going back to the bag. But even Jeter a few years ago, 2003, that head first slide into third base when he hit the catcher, he was out for half the year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
We talked about this on a previous show, and it's just a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact.
When Hamilton got hurt.
And we kind of said, you know what? Head first sliding into first base is just the most ridiculous thing you could possibly do. It doesn't help you. It only exposes you to a potential injury. I did have a little bit of leeway when it comes into, if you're trying to leg out a double, a triple, and you can try to avoid a tag maybe, but it's become such common practice now for guys to, for these headfirst slides. And, my feeling is if you're dealing with a young guy like Harper, I'd rather see him make the out at third base at this point than lose. I'd rather lose one out than lose a guy for 2 months.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And in Hamilton's case, it's even more, stupid because he was head first sliding to first base.
Right.
Of all things.
Right.
So this is crazy. This should be something that they're told in their contract that you are forbidden for doing. And you cannot do this. Mm-hmm. I mean, look what it's cost. It's costing both teams a lot of money because when these guys aren't playing, the paycheck rolls on. The money's guaranteed.
Right.
If Bobby Valentine were here now, forget it.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, it's just a situation where they basically traded it out at third base for 2 months.
Yeah, look, if you're a rookie, 23-year-old kid who's struggling to make a team and you want to show a little hustle, great.
Okay.
Or if you're a journeyman player that never, has had a big moment and you're going to head first slide, okay, fine. But if you're Albert Pujols or Bryce Harper or Josh Hamilton or any of these guys. Stop sliding.
Use your heads.
Yeah, use your head. Don't use your head.
All right, enough of the news. Let's get into who's hot and who's not. Interesting week this week. A couple of guys just tearing it up. One guy is Jose Abreu. Hit .310 this week, 5 home runs, 14 runs batted in, 8 runs scored. This guy is a real deal.
This guy is going to be the one that got away. Comparatively, he signed for 6 years, I think, and like $68 million with the White Sox, right? Mm-hmm. The Mets signed Granderson for 4 years and somewhere in the $60 million range. Now, which guy would you rather have on your team right now if you were a Met fan? Think about that. This guy is an out-and-out steal right now, and he's producing. He's 10 homers now, I think, 29 RBIs on the season.
He's off to a monster start.
Nah, this guy's everything that he's cracked up to be. He's the version of Tanaka on the pitching end. On the offensive end.
So much for being intimidated by Major League Baseball. I mean, this guy just jumped right in, and he's having a ball.
Yep.
Kyle Seager, 409 this week, 5 home runs, 11 runs batted in, 8 runs scored. How about that?
Got off to a slow start, so now he's starting to hit.
Yeah.
So that lineup, like we said previously, all of a sudden the Mariners are not that pushover lineup anymore.
Yeah.
And they haven't really even gotten going yet because, we still haven't seen the likes of Corey Hart start to hit really well or anything
Right.
like that. But
Even Cano so far hasn't done much. Cano has one home run.
I mean, he's hit a little. He's been active, but not the Cano that we're used to.
Yeah.
So when these guys get going, they're not going to be a pushover anymore.
But you know what? If you're looking for a guy to replace, like a Ryan Zimmerman, Seager might be out there for you.
Yeah, it's great hitter.
Yeah. Nelson Cruz, 296, 4 home runs, 13 runs batted in this week, 8 runs scored.
Yeah.
Nice week for
Normal
Mr.
week.
Cruz.
Yep.
Andrew McCutchen, 3 homers this week.
Yeah, McCutchen, that lineup there, they've got some issues there. They got to
Yeah.
start scoring some runs.
Yeah.
They're a little stagnant, which brings us to the Polanco watch because eventually they're going to have to bring him up just to jumpstart this team. Because they're not scoring enough runs to make me happy if I was a Pirate fan.
Yeah, you have to kind of wait and see what's going to happen with Ike Davis. McCutchen this week, 417, 3 home runs. So that's a
He's
good
a man
sign.
on his own, though. He's not really getting a whole lot of support from the support.
Yeah, I mean,
cast.
Marte's been a bit of a disappointment so far.
Yeah.
I think when that lineup gels a little bit, when they all start hitting at the same time, they're going to be a force. But right now, it's a little hit
It's
or
a little
miss.
weak.
Yeah. Ben Revere, 429 this week, 4 stolen bases. He's a guy that's going to get you some stolen bases.
Yeah, well, the stolen bases is all he can do for you, really.
Yeah.
So you hope he hits.
And only one member of the 500 club this week, Carlos Ruiz, 11 for 22, 1 home run, 7 runs batted in, and 8 runs scored. Good for him.
Take it and run with it with him.
Take it and run. Jason Hamill, 2-0 this week.
That's a little surprising,
Yeah.
but he's
2-0,
making a mini comeback.
0.64 ERA, 0.64 WHIP.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a little bit of a, surprise, I guess you'll call it at this stage of the game.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Adam Wainwright still being Adam Wainwright, 2-0 this week. 0 earned runs in his 2 starts, .60 WHIP.
that's a normal week for Adam Wainwright.
That's a normal week for Wainwright. You got to love him. Jorge De La Rosa, 2-0 this week, 1.50 ERA, 1.17 WHIP.
Yeah, putting it together.
Yeah, listen, you know what? He's a guy that you ride while he's hot. And Colin
All right, this one,
he deserves
I
a
gotta
bell if
tell
anybody
you,
does.
if this didn't come out of left field, if you will.
Colin McHugh?
Colin McHugh, if you're a Met fan, you do remember Colin McHugh.
Yes.
And I do remember that he was 0-4 for the Mets and got bombed, and then he went to, I think, the Rockies. And
He's
continued
bounced
to get
around a
bombed.
little bit.
And he was 0-8. His career ERA has got to be in the 6-7 range.
It
I
is.
don't even
It's
know.
Definitely 5
But
plus.
I saw him on the starter list for that game, and I'm like, oh, wow, this guy's back. We went nuts.
Well, you know what? They brought him
He
up.
struck
and
out,
they,
what did he strike out, 14 guys or
Well,
something?
they threw him into the rotation. Yeah, his first start was unbelievable. They threw him into the rotation as a fill-in for Scott Feldman. It is 2 starts, 2-0, 0.59 ERA, 0.52 WHIP, a whopping 19 strikeouts
Listen,
and 15 and a third.
I didn't even have him on the streamers. He wasn't even worthy of a streamer at that stage of the game.
I didn't even know he was still in baseball. How about that?
I don't know. I mean, you want to start checking some bill of the caps on guys, check out this guy's cap.
He's still young. What is he, 27?
Yeah, it's just you went from being so bad to so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be scratching my head a little bit if I was in the,
Maybe he's talking to Mike Scott.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I don't know. Is he scuffing the ball? A little sandpaper in the back pocket?
And then another ex-Met that the Mets probably wish they still had is K-Rod. K-Rod, another week on the hot list. 2 weeks in a row now. 4 more saves this week. 4 more scoreless innings after 3 saves and a 0 ERA last week. So he's put together 2 really dominant weeks.
As with any closer, except for the great ones, the few, it could be all over next week.
It could be. It could be. But you know what? He's getting the job done.
He is getting the job
done. The job is solidly his right now. So.
Absolutely.
Who's not hot? We got Freddie Galvis, 0 for the week, 0 for 21.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, Freddie. Chris Johnson, a guy that can't get out of his own way so far this year, 2 for 19.
Yeah, normally a good hitter, but
He's a decent hitter, and you know what? He was hitting cleanup for the Braves, and he hasn't done a thing with it.
well, that I don't get at all. But he's a good hitter, but he's not a cleanup
No,
hitter.
he's not a cleanup guy. Carlos Gonzalez having a rough week. He's still kind of hurt. He's got some tendonitis in the knee. 2 for 23 this week. he's a guy that you would expect to get healthy and to get rolling.
You just got to wait him out. There's
Got to
nothing
wait him
else
out.
you can do.
Got to wait him out. Carlos Santana.
It's a recurring theme with Carlos here.
1 for 20 on the week. He's batting a robust 122 on the year.
God.
He did homer last night.
Did he? Okay.
So maybe that's a good sign for Carlos.
All right.
Ernesto Fieri. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, and we don't care at this point.
At this point, no one cares.
He just lost his closer job to Joe Smith after a 0-1, 13.50 ERA, 1.80 a week. That guy just had, replace me tattooed on his forehead.
Control issues, blowing saves left and right. It doesn't take much. A couple of outings, you're a closer, it's over. And for him, it's over.
And that seems to be the case right now. These guys are on a very short leash.
Yeah, it's the only position on the field where you get a couple of cracks at it to do well, and if you don't, you're at it. If you go 0 for 2 as a positional player, you're not going to be benched. If you go 0 2 as a starter, you're not necessarily going to be benched. But if you blow a couple of saves, you're out.
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah, bring on the next guy. And then my boy Andrew Kashner, rough week this week. 0-2, 6 ERA, 1.58 WHIP. Here's a guy I'm not worried about. He's a guy that's going to bounce back. His best days are ahead of him as far as I'm concerned, so I'm not worried about him.
Yeah.
Then John Lester, 0-2 this week, 5.40 ERA, 1.71 WHIP. What are your feelings on Mr. Lester?
I'm just wondering if he stopped using the pine tar. I don't know. He's another guy I wonder about.
Yeah, I'm the pine tar and God knows what else.
Yeah, he'll come back anyway. Not worried about him. He'll recover.
He'll be solid. All right, listen, let's take a commercial break. We're going to be back with Waiver Wire. We're going to bring in Paul DiSclafani Disco from Glory Days. We're going to have a little discussion about the state of the Mets. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRavio.com.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world. So come and catch us.
I will remember you.
Baseball Code Red. Listen, if you're looking to do something, you're looking for a free night out on enravio.com, go to the contest page on our homepage, and you can win tickets to one of many shows at the Paramount in Huntington. Got a couple of good shows coming up. The very hot Jenny McCarthy is performing at the Paramount coming up, and then we also have Volbeat and Trivium. So check out the homepage on enravio.com. Go to paramountny.com. Check out a list of all their shows, and you can buy tickets. You can win tickets. All on enravio.com.
Sounds great.
All right, listen. Let's jump in with a little bit of a different feature today. We're going to bring in one of the co-hosts of the Saturday Morning Glory Days show, Mr. Paul Disco DiSclafani. We got you, Paul.
Hey guys, how are you?
How you doing, Disco?
Hey, Paul, how you
All
doing?
right, how's everything with you guys?
We're doing well, my man. We're doing well. How you been?
I've been okay.
Watching the show. You guys are doing a fabulous job.
I like you guys on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's it gives people a little bit of an opportunity if they're running out of the house to a soccer game on a late Saturday morning to check us out now on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So I'm actually enjoying your Facebook page updates on the Mets on a daily basis. So we figured we'd bring you in and talk a little state of the New York Mets.
Well, it's been kind of fun. I'm not sure yet if I'm drinking the Kool-Aid or not.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we're in second place, 14-11. A hair over Washington and Philly. Not too far behind the Braves. What are you thinking? Are we for real or?
Well, you know what? They've won 8 out of 13. I mean, you got to, everybody remembers that they had a really bad start. They started out 0-3.
Yeah.
And it really looked terrible. And their big beef or the big problem that they've been having is that they can't win at home.
Right. Yeah, 8-8 at home, 6-3 on the road.
Right. But they have that terrible opening week homestand. They lose 4 out of 6. At home, and then they go out on the road and they win. They're 6-3 on a 9-game road trip, and then they come home and they do a really good job. I mean, let's face it. They played the first place Atlanta Braves. Then
there were no rollovers on that homestand.
Right, and then they took 3 out of 4 from the National League champs.
Yeah. And even Miami, they're in last place, but Miami's not that bad a team either. So what?
Do we not always lose to Miami? No
yes, we do. Yes, we do.
The Mets always seem to. The difference between the Mets and the Yankees is the Mets always seem to play down to their competition.
They do. It's been a chronic issue with them. So let's kind of take the team, player by player or position by position. What do you think of the DiArnaud?
Well, you know what?
He seems to be picking it up a little bit with the bat.
Yes, he has been. But I'm really more concerned with his catching.
Yeah.
Pass balls.
Yeah, you know what? I have to say, I have to agree with that. He looks a little shaky behind the plate, which is something I didn't expect to see.
And it's not so much pass balls, but he seems to be, there's a lot of wild pitches, a lot of pass balls, and that's one of two things. Either you can't catch the ball, but you wouldn't be a major league catcher if you couldn't catch the ball.
Right.
Or you're not communicating with your pitcher.
Right.
You're expecting curveball and he's throwing a fastball.
It could be just an issue. I mean, here's a guy that hasn't played a lot over the last couple of years.
Yes.
I think they brought him up maybe a little prematurely, basically just to kind of satisfy the fans a little bit. But, he's a guy that I think is a work in progress. I do see potential there. Is he going to be the next Piazza? Absolutely not.
No, there's not going to be another Piazza.
Right. But I think he can be an above-average hitting catcher in this league.
Oh, absolutely. He's starting to come around. I mean, I like the way he swings. He doesn't, he's not a big, I don't know, I guess he's not a tremendous strikeout guy.
Right.
He's only struck out 10 times the whole year. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I like to see him going the other way a little bit now, and just make contact for now. Put the ball in play and let's see what happens.
I mean, and we've been looking at him, and he's been under 200. I mean, under 200 most of the year. He's been in the 120, 130. All of a sudden now he's up below. He's up in the 220s now, I think.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now, 219.
Yeah,
So,
219, 1 home run, 4 runs batted in. What do you think of
I'm
the
not
Ike
terribly
Davis
concerned.
move?
Well, you know what? They had to get rid of somebody. Okay, they couldn't go with Davis, Duda, and Satin.
Right.
I don't think they could have gotten anything for Duda because Duda hasn't proven that he could do anything.
Right.
You know, he's great in spring training. He's got a lot of power. Davis has at least proven he could do things.
Right.
And yes, granted, he hits a grand slam. It makes the best look bad. But you know what? I think he's like 2 for 22 or something.
He hasn't hit since he went.
He hasn't hit much since he's gone, but you know what? The general and I kind of talked about this last week after the trade, and we kind of came to the conclusion that if there was a guy that just needed a change of scenery, maybe needed to go to a smaller market team, it was definitely Davis.
Right. You know what? He's one of those guys where if he goes, you know, in Pittsburgh and he all of a sudden becomes a great home run hitter, I'm not going to look back and say, gee, look, we should have never traded him. He wasn't going to do that.
3 seasons of disappointment. You had even the year he hit the 32 homers and 90 RBIs.
Yeah.
Half that season was lost. The following season, which was last year, was a complete loss. And this season was starting off as shaky. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't shaky. It just we didn't have any signs that he was going to come out of it and become a slugger. So really, that's kind of a long look on a guy before you finally give up on him. So it wasn't like they gave him
gave him every opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean, they gave him every opportunity. So now we've
even
got
more
Duda.
than I thought they would.
Yeah, me too. And now we've got Duda. You know, Duda right now, 257, 4 home runs, 13 runs batted in. You know, I think.
You know what? Maybe they think Satin's the guy.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not
Satin's the guy.
You
I don't think
can
Satin's the
write
guy.
it down right now. Satin is not the guy.
No, he's not. But you know, the thing about the Mets is, you know, as deep as they are at some positions in the minor leagues, right now they don't have a lot at first base.
No, right.
You know, they have Jace Boyd, who's, you know, a couple of years away, maybe even just a year away, but he's more of a glove guy than a big power guy.
In the last 3 years, the last 3 number 1 draft choices they've taken have all been kids directly out of high school.
Yes.
And
yeah.
they addressed.
I think Dominic Smith was one of those guys who's a first base prospect, but he's 18.
Right.
So we're not going to be seeing him anytime soon.
But they've taken a first baseman, they've taken an outfielder, and they've taken a shortstop in the last 3 years.
Yes.
Those are the 3 guys they've taken. So you know what? They're trying to address it. But I mean, overall, the team again, probably. I mean, I'm not sure if they lead the league in strikeouts. 236 strikeouts in 25 games. Man, that's almost 10 strikeouts.
They don't have enough good hitters.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
They don't have enough good hitters in that lineup, regardless of how well Dylan G pitches or if they solve their closing issues.
Well,
you know,
if
they had 40 home runs, I'd say fine. You strike
right,
out
you can live with the strikeouts, but you can't when you're not getting any power. You know, Murphy's solid at second base. What are you thinking about Ruben Tejada?
Well, you know what? He's not as bad as we thought he was going to be.
I think he stinks.
No,
I don't even
yeah,
know.
But what's the alternative? What are you going to put in Quintanilla?
No, neither one of them's a good option.
You can't go there either. I mean, my guess, or my wish, I guess, would be that they finally move Flores over to shortstop full time and give him a shot. I mean, I know he's not. You know, he's not the equal.
He's not going to be able to field a position.
That's the thing. He's not the equal of
hit.
Tejada defensively, but for a team that is so desperate for offense, I say give him a shot.
If you do that,
and now all of a sudden we have an outfield glut.
Yeah.
You know, you got Lagares coming back, hopefully for the series in Colorado, and you know that's a guy who you can't not play this kid. He plays a wonderful.
I want to see them play this kid. You know what?
But now what do you do?
Well, that's
now
the problem.
You got Granderson.
You've got Young.
I mean,
although Young's only hitting 216, he's got 12 stolen bases. He's got 20 runs scored. I don't mind playing him. You know, you got to hope that Granderson is going to come around. I mean, how this guy's hitting $129 is just beyond me. I mean, you know, we invested $60 million over 4 years in this guy. He's got to produce.
I know he will. I'm not really concerned about him. You know, like you said, you've got Eric Young. You need him at the top of that lineup. He's been fantastic.
He has.
You know,
the 216 batting average aside,
Chris
you're
Young's
right.
got 2 home runs in the last 3 games. This is the guy you brought in because he's got the power.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you know what?
you
Chris
put
Young's
in-
going to be a one-year guy. I mean, I can't see them bringing him back next year. You know,
Unless
the
he
Mets
plays
have a
well.
couple of possible prospects in Brandon Nimmo and Cesar Pulio. I mean, those are, you know, pretty high-end prospects. They're probably a year or 2 away, but the Mets are going to have to make do with what they have right now.
Hey, you want to hear an interesting stat?
What's that?
We are 25 games into the season. Not one Met pitcher has a hit.
Yes, I saw that.
Another reason why the DH should be employed immediately.
Paul, what was it? It was like 0 for 32 or something?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. I didn't add them all up, but I just...
To add to the offensive woes of the Met team, the pitchers have not even gotten a hit yet. Have they got a walk?
So let's at least talk about the strength of this team. We've got a pretty solid pitching staff, between Cologne, Nice.
And I think that surprised a lot of people.
It's, not a big surprise to me because I see so much depth here. Between Cologne and Nice, Dylan G is the real deal. Wheeler is coming on.
Do you know what the calculation is for a quality start?
Yes, 6 innings.
6 innings, 3 or less earned runs.
3 or less earned runs.
Cologne, 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
G, 4 out of 6. Wheeler, 4 out of 5. Nice, 3 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Their starting pitchers are getting them because this team isn't hitting. Their starting pitchers, again, I don't know how long they could work
Right.
in that type of an atmosphere.
No, they've carried them. The reason they're 14-11 is all about their pitching.
It is, and you know what? It's no thanks to the bullpen. So it's really the starting pitching that's been the glue to this team. And now you have Mejia kind of stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Harvey to look forward to next year. We've got Montero and Syndergaard, and a guy that we've totally forgotten about is Steven Matz. And he's a guy that, local product, came out of William Floyd, right?
Ward Melville.
Ward Melville, rather. Came out of Ward Melville, right here on Long Island, and, big left-handed pitcher.
Tommy John surgery.
Tommy John surgery before he ever threw a pitch in
I think
in professional baseball.
I think
from what I understand,
I don't think he threw a pitch. I don't think he threw a pitch.
I think from what I understand, Tommy John surgery is now required for all pitchers.
It's required, yes. But the other thing, too, is he had issues after the Tommy John. I think he had some shoulder issues. He's finally healthy. The last year and a half or so, he's actually pitched pretty well. He's a guy that, is kind of fallen off the radar, but, the Mets are deep.
Well, let's play general manager for a second. Do you think Alderson is doing what he needs to do, or do you think he should start packaging some of these young arms, or maybe some of these excess quote unquote outfielders, and get us a shortstop?
Yes.
I don't think you have anything. I mean, if you're talking about trading Syndergaard or Montero, I think that's a mistake.
Or,
I wouldn't trade either one of those
Or
guys.
do you do what the Yankees do? You do
No,
what
but
the Yankees do. You just go out there and just for money, you get Stephen Drew.
But let me ask you something.
Well,
Forget
if they
Steve.
were
I
gonna
don't
do
want
that, they
Stephen
should've
Drew.
done it already.
I think Hanley Ramirez is a free agent next year. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Although he's kind of on the back end of his career. But is a contender in July going to take a flyer on a guy like Cologne at $10 million a year? Maybe. I say maybe. Do they want to maybe trade a guy? Huh?
I'm sorry, $10 million is not prohibitive.
It's not. It's
because
not.
you're talking about.
It's very reasonable.
You're talking about a guy who has always proved to be solid.
Yeah. Would the Mets consider trading a Dylan G? I mean, would they consider, I guess that's it. They're not going to trade Deese. I think with all these young pitchers, they are going to need one veteran guy to kind of, keep that whole thing together and be an example.
When you look at this rotation, Nice has been solid. G has been solid. You have a pretty good idea that Wheeler is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay? You're bringing back Harvey. Hopefully you're getting a good Matt Harvey next year. That's already 4 spots.
Right.
Now you've got Syndergaard. You've got
Montero.
You've got Montero. You've got all these guys. All of a sudden, that you don't really need a guy like Cologne.
Yeah, I think Cologne is very expendable come July. If unless the Mets somehow miraculously are still in this thing, I could see them moving him.
I mean, if they could trade Cologne and get themselves a 20-year-old shortstop prospect,
Yeah.
Right.
Not necessarily a major league ready player.
What
but
about doing what other teams starting to follow the model of the Cardinals of bringing up your young starting pitchers and making them
That's what they
pitch
should
in
do.
long relief?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit a week or two ago. I'm not a fan of that. Although it's worked for the Cardinals, I'm not a fan of it only because I want to see guys like Syndergaard come up and do what they're supposed to do. Be a starting pitcher. take your lumps if they're going to be lumps in the first year. And then, next year when you have Harvey back and you've got, a guy like Syndergaard with a little bit of experience under his belt, you may have something next year.
And we've also seen that these guys that come back from the Tommy John surgery are not necessarily right there when they come
Could
back.
take 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Some
we
guys
might
come
even
back
be talking
faster than
about
others.
A mediocre, Harvey for 2015.
Yeah.
So, again, they keep saying over and over again, you can't have too much pitching. And I really, truly believe that.
Yeah.
And when you look at a guy like, you look at a guy like Tanaka, okay? When the Yankees picked up Tanaka, everybody was talking about how, there's going to be a difference with the ball, and there's going to be, because the ball is slightly smaller, and the mounds are harder,
And the
he's not gonna
batters
have
are
to pitch
better,
all that
and-
stuff. Listen, if you took a major league pitcher, now who do you guys think is the best pitcher in the league?
That's Clayton Kershaw.
I would say Kershaw,
Okay.
Scherzer.
If you took Kershaw and you put him down in the minor leagues, even at Class A level, would he go 24-0?
Probably not.
I doubt
Right.
it because
Okay. So because there's so many other factors involved. But this guy, he went 24-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's got to be something said about a guy that could make that type of adjustment.
Oh, there's no question.
And a guy that can do that because,
the Mets
I'm
with all
just
these
hoping,
pitchers.
I guess he might be the real deal. Who knows?
Oh, he's definitely the real
Oh,
deal.
But
he's-
that's
yeah.
a guy who the Yankees went out and got. Anybody could have got him. It was all money.
Well, you know what?
That's
And that's the
all
last
Boston.
thing I want to say on the Mets right now is that this is a team that actually right now has its highest payroll since 2003, I want to say. No, I'm sorry. That's not right. Their lowest payroll.
I was going to say highest.
I wanted to see where you were going with it.
I'm sorry.
You got the Bernie Madoff calculator going
Yeah,
on.
what I'm trying to say is, they were in the 140, 150 million, range just a few years ago. Then we had the whole Madoff situation. The Mets need to spend some money in a major market. They've got too many holes, to be one of those teams that wants to build completely from within. They need to go out and get guys, and they spent money on Granderson last year, and they spent a little money on Clone, I get it. But they need to sign or trade for one big bat and pay the man.
Yeah, but you know what? Every time they find that guy, he turns into Jason Bay.
It's true. I mean, the Mets have notoriously had very, very bad success with free agents. And
Yeah, we talked about that a little, Paul. We're going all the way back to Alomar and Baerga and Bonilla.
Is there like a curse or something that you come to the Mets and all of a sudden you're...
Maybe Greg Jeffries has a son somewhere that's ready to come up somewhere. I don't know.
All right, my friend, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to run into a commercial break here, but thanks for joining us. And
Hey guys, anytime.
check out Glory Days on Saturday mornings,
10 a.m.
10 a.m. on radio.com. Great
This
sports
week will
talk
be,
show.
we're going to try, we may actually have somebody live from the Kentucky Derby this week.
Very nice. Very
That would be pretty
nice. All right. All right, good talking to you, my friend.
All right, guys.
Take
Thanks.
care.
All right, have a
luck
good
with the
one.
show.
Thanks, Disco.
Thank you.
All right, listen, we're going to run out for a quick commercial break. We'll be back with Waiver Wire here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on radio.com. Back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Dave Canfield, host of Nerdgasm.
I'm Joe Winchell. Nobody likes me.
And I'm Peppercorn Montgomery.
Tune in every Wednesday night only on radio.com to hear the greatest nerd discussion of all time. It is Nerdgasmic.
It'll be the best nerdgasm you've ever had.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural.
And organic.
But strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red. Let's get into a little waiver wire action right now and let you know who might be out there worthy of a pickup. Martin Perez, Texas Rangers starting pitcher. Here's a guy that has thrown 2 consecutive complete game shutouts. Dominant against the A's, who, not such a shabby lineup, by the way. But right now, he's 4-0 on the season, 1.42 ERA, 0.92 WHIP. I'm all over that.
Yeah, I think he is probably grabbed in most leagues by now. If not, certainly pick him up.
Yeah. Another guy, Willie Peralta. Peralta, 3-0 on the season, 2.19 ERA, 1.09 WHIP. Here's a guy that we've been kind of waiting. He's been, one of the top pitching prospects from Milwaukee for quite some time. Kind of waiting for this guy to blossom. Is this a year?
Nah, I think he's already on his way. So I drafted him, so I'm not waiting around.
Yeah, hard thrower, has shown, some flashes. Maybe this is it for him.
No, he's ready.
And then we have Joe Smith, the new closer. Out in,
he's got the perfect last name. Just another Joe Smith out there.
Another Joe Smith, another John Doe. The carousel continues to turn out for the Angels. And then, of course, in Pittsburgh, we've got the Jason Grilli injury. Mark Melancon will be closing temporarily, at least for Pittsburgh.
All right.
Who else do we want to pick up this week? Any streamers?
All right, we got the streamers for the pitching, starting pitchers. Let's see, 429. That's today, I believe. That's got Jared Cosarts. He's coming off a good start versus Seattle. 12 of his 15 starts in his major league career have been good starts.
Yeah, quality
this
starts.
guy, he is 4% owned in Yahoo leagues. This guy should be on roster. He's not a streamer, but he's a streamer because he's not owned by that many teams. So go after him, and he could give you a good start against Washington. By the way, the Bryce Harper-less Washington,
and the Zimmerman-less.
Yes, yep.
So
and they're having
a lot of
trouble
holes in
scoring
that
runs.
lineup right now.
They're having trouble scoring runs. Jordan Lyles, another guy, 6% owned in Yahoo leagues. He's got to start on April 30th versus Arizona. Arizona cannot hit. They cannot get out of their own way right now.
Yeah.
Their record is horrible.
Trumbo out.
He's got 30 innings pitched this year. He's 3-0, 2.93 ERA, and a 1.11 WHIP. This is one of the guys from last year when he was on the Astros that I was kind of, advocating that he should be the type of guy that we should be looking at for the future. They ended up trading him, I guess, for, was it Dexter Fowler?
Yeah.
Which was, the Astros need offense. That's why they did it. I get it. But now the Rockies are reaping the benefits of Jordan Lyles. So another one, Robbie Ross, still, only a 13% ownership in Yahoo leagues. He's also pitching on the 30th versus Oakland. His last start was good against Seattle. See, with the streamers, I look at the last start because really they're only as good as where they are right now. That's where we're at. If you need a start,
you want to catch a guy on a roll.
You want to catch a guy running. That's how you do it. The other one, it's an interesting one. You might like this one there, Admiral. Tyler Lyons. He is going to be starting on May 2nd. I think it's the May 2nd game against Chicago that he's going to be starting. The Cubs can't hit.
Yeah, it's a good
So
start.
if there's ever a place that you want to have a streamer, it's a team that can't hit, and the Cubs can't hit.
Yeah.
So you can take a shot with him. And my last one is Chris Young. Chris Young, 2% owned in Yahoo leagues, which means he's available. Had a good start versus Houston on the 23rd. Try him again. He's got Houston again.
Well, I think he's starting tonight against the Yankees, isn't he?
Right, so that'll be Sunday. That's,
right, so I wouldn't jump on that one, but
No.
absolutely against Houston,
The
that's
Houston
the one you
start.
want.
Stay
That's
away
one
from
you
the
want.
Yankee start with him.
Yeah.
So those are the streamers, folks.
All right, great. All right, let's get you caught up on some injury news. Mark Trumbo with a foot injury out 6 to 8 weeks.
See you later.
Chris Davis.
This one hurts.
Now this one hurts because it's the ever.
This is a possible #1 pick for somebody that's.
Well, not only that, but this is the oblique injury that nobody knows what it is, when it heals, what happens with the oblique. But he's expected to miss a little bit of time. I think more than the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper, we talked about already. He's gone for a couple of months. It's going to be a while for him. Chase Headley on the DL this week, out for a couple of weeks with a calf injury. He's looking at probably 2 to 3 weeks minimum. Devin Mesoraco, a guy that we talked about last week, is a guy getting hot, is now in the DL with a hammy.
Yep.
Josh Hamilton, still a month away.
Yep, month away, but getting ahead of schedule from what I read today. Baseball activities will start next week for Josh, so we're getting closer.
Manny Machado maybe back next week.
This is like the never-ending story. Manny Machado, just get
already.
it back and get on the field and stop this already. I don't even want. In fact, he's off the injury report. No more with Manny. I'm done with this guy.
Here's another guy that we should be talking about for the last time is Will Middlebrooks.
Yeah, him too.
He should be back this Friday from his calf injury.
His calf injury. Come on.
Gavin Floyd expected to make one more rehab start before joining the Braves. Mike Minor should be up to replace Chris Hale.
David Hale,
I'm sorry. And Clayton Kershaw threw 56 pitches in a 5-inning rehab start. 1 run on a couple of hits, 6 strikeouts in high A. Getting close to coming back is Mr. Kershaw. All right, Man Crush, we're going to kind of skip this week. We're going to have to come up with some new guys, or at least I am, because Bryce Harper is out for a couple of months. Springer, we're not going to get too into this week, only because he went 2 for 25 this week. So
struggling in a Houston lineup.
Struggling in Houston. But speaking of Houston, it's a perfect segue. We're going to jump into our rookie class, or our Down on the Farm segment. And we're going to focus on one team this week, and that's the Houston Astros. A lot to talk about there. A lot of good things happening in Houston. They're doing a great job. As a small market team of building from within, really going the youth movement route, and they're getting the job done.
Well, they are, because they have no choice.
They have no choice.
This is a team that was in the World Series in 2005 when we had names like Clemens, and we had Pettit, and we had Bagwell, and we had Biggio, and we had Berkman. Quality Major League players. Where they're at today is we have none of those guys, and we have a roster filled with rookies and replacement type players. They've lost 100 games 3 years in a row. They are losing again this year. They're likely to lose 100 games this year. Maybe they'll finish with 90 losses. I don't know. But the byproduct of all this is the Astros have not signed any free agents, so they haven't lost any picks. and I mean like the big free agents. They haven't lost any picks from signing free agents, and they have gotten number 1 draft picks the last couple of years because they were in last place. So what the results are of all this is that they have George Springer, who now is at the major league level, who last year hit 37 homers, drove in 100 runs in the minor leagues, stole 45 bases. Is phenomenal talent, 300 hitter, has a high on-base percentage too for a guy that strikes out a lot. He's up. They have Jonathan Singleton down in the minors. He is now starting to hit, finally.
Yeah, that's a guy I like a lot. He's a big first baseman.
They need that.
With some pop. You know, he is coming off the PED scandal, but, you know, it doesn't appear to really have affected him all that much. I'm not sure, you know, if it was one of those situations where, you know, maybe it didn't help him all that much.
I don't know, but he's on fire right now. He's hitting well over 300. He's got 8 homers and I think 27 RBIs. I think you're going to see him in June.
He'll be a June guy.
You know, you're going to see him. A couple other guys I'm going to mention. Carlos Correa. They have a 19-year-old shortstop that is just tearing it up in the minor leagues. This was their 2012 number 1 overall pick. The number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
They need this guy. He's probably not going to be around till maybe next June.
Right.
But not this year. I doubt you'll see him this year. But this is another guy that's just, you know, in the minors, that's a very, very productive player that's progressing. He's hitting very well. Drove in 86 runs last year as an 18-year-old, hitting 300. Very, very good player. They have another guy, the number 1 pick from last year, 2013 draft, the number 1 pick overall, Mark Appel. Just got his feet wet last year, only had about 30, 40 innings in the minors.
Yeah.
But
Not off to a good start right now.
Not off to a good start the first 4 starts this year, but
very highly touted
projected to
pitching
be
prospect.
a very good pitching prospect.
Which is something that the Astros need because they're pretty heavy, you know, with prospects on, you know, the position players.
Yeah.
But not a whole lot with pitching prospects. So if Appel can be a top of the rotation type of guy for them, it's really going to help them out a lot.
Big time, big time. You can see that this Houston Astro team is going to be turning the corner in the next 2 years. There is no doubt. Another guy I'm going to mention they have in the minor leagues, Mike Faltnowitz, I think is how you pronounce his name. Their 2012 minor league player of the year. Still progressing, only 22 years old. Very good pitcher. I think you're going to be seeing him in the majors in the next couple of years. And they also have an interesting thing. They've got a couple of guys in the minors that are sons of former major league players that were successful players. They've got Delano DeShields Jr., big stolen base guy, probably projects to 40, 50 stolen bases.
Yeah, what just happened to him recently?
He got hit in the face with a
he got hit in the
fastball.
face. That's right. He got hit in the face
his
with
his Twitter
broken
picture,
jaw or broken orbital maybe? Or
yeah, he's all right, but he's going to be out for a few weeks at least. But so he's out there, and also they have Lance McCullers Jr.
Yes,
90-mile-an-hour thrower, and he is striking people out at an incredible rate. You know, and not only that, but even at the major league level, they've got a couple of good players. Jose Altuve,
good young players
at second base, young player.
Jonathan Villar, who is, you know, he's got a lot of speed. He's got a little bit of pop too. Just a guy that's having a little difficulty getting on base right now, but I like him.
They've got Feldman, who's a solid pitcher.
They have Jason Castro.
You know, they have a catcher that can hit. He had 18 homers last year, Castro did, with 54 RBIs. You know, so they've got a couple of spots already filled.
And even a guy like Dexter Fowler, who's still relatively young, you know, if he's the type of guy that might flourish with some support around him. I mean, right now the guy's, you know, he's an island on that team. I mean, you know, there's just no help for him right now.
Right, and what they're going to end up having to do here, since their payroll's in the $44 million range, which is, I think, the lowest in the entire league, what they're going to have to do with these guys is try to sign these guys before their arbitration years come up. You know, the only thing you can do is kind of like what Tampa Bay did with Evan Longoria. You sign them to like a 6-year deal. Well, in the case of Tampa Bay, they signed him to a 6-year deal, Longoria that is, for $17 million. They tried to do something like that with Springer. Springer wasn't having it. Springer didn't sign that. They offered him, I think, 6 years or 7 years for $23 million. It was a low ball.
It was 6 for 23,
and he didn't go for it. He turned it down.
Which tells me something, though. It tells me that he's confident. It tells me that this is a guy that feels like he's going to play well enough to command a big contract
So
in the next couple of years.
He turned it down. He's making $500,000, which is the major league minimum. So he would have been making $3 million.
Oh, wait, when did that happen? When did the major league minimum get to $500,000?
It's creeped up over the years.
I remember a couple of years ago it was $250.
I remember in the 50s, guys had winter jobs. But I mean, so they're going to end up having to offer these guys, buy
He
out
is old enough to remember the 50s.
Yeah, right. Buy out those arbitration years before these guys become eligible. Because if they arbitrate, they're going to get $10 million, $8 million a season. If you can get them now and just lock them up for $3 or $4 million a year.
That's got to be the strategy for them because they will not have the revenue to sign these guys when it comes time to signing them for big contracts. If they get burned on a couple of guys, that's okay.
You're going to get burned a little bit here and
there.
there.
If they get burned on $20 million, on a guy like Singleton, maybe, that's not the worst thing in the world that could happen to them. Because if they can do it with Appel and Singleton, and they can do it with guys like Altuve and Castro and eventually Springer, it'll work for them. If they get burned on one guy, but they signed 4 guys and it works.
It's a better strategy.
It's their only strategy.
It's their only strategy, but it's probably a better strategy to spread, let's say, $30 million for 1 year between, let's say, 6 guys.
Yes.
Than to give $30 million to a Clayton Kershaw type of player if he was out there and available.
Right.
Because you have more opportunities to be successful and more different ways to help a team versus one guy who could be Tommy John.
But it also gives you the opportunity, gives you the payroll flexibility where if they are at a point where they're contending and they want to add that veteran pitcher or that big bat, to lead the team, when they get to a point where they're competitive with the young guys, it gives them the flexibility with a $40, $50, $60 million payroll where they can go out and spend.
That's when you add the guy.
They can go out and spend $10 or $20 million on a player for a year, and per year even.
I mean, the Mets actually kind of made that mistake this year. I mean, really, Granderson would have been a better fit probably somewhere else. He doesn't really. They weren't going to go anywhere with or without him. You can't tell me they were going to pack the stadium because of him. They spent the money. They're stuck with him. I mean, they probably would have been better off following the Astros at the rate that they're at now. And maybe, you know what? Bring up Syndergaard and Montero, but leave Granderson out there for someone else to deal with. That might have been a better way to go. But what's done is done.
Astros, bottom line, they're on the right track. They're doing the right thing. They're doing a good job. They're spending their money wisely. Their scouting department deserves kudos. So to wrap things up, I think that you want to keep an eye on that system. I put them right up there almost with the Cardinals in terms of their the quality of their system and where they're headed as a team.
Yep, the position players too, not just pitchers.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Matt Martin behind the glass, doing a great job as always. Thank you to Paul Disco DiSclafani for joining us today.
The tarp is on the field.
And the tarp is on the field, but we may get a game in the Bronx today. Or tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next Tuesday night, 6:30 on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on NRavio.com. Thanks for tuning in.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.